baby, by the way. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof.
Because I'm happy.
Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy.
Clap along. Hello. Hello, guys. Thanks for joining me. Moses Abayo, thanks for joining. Those on Instagram, thank you for joining me today. And if you're following me on YouTube, watching on YouTube, on Facebook, thanks for joining. So I'm on 3 different platforms right now. And I'll be talking about the neuroscience of change. So thanks for joining me. Wow. How has your day been? I don't know what time of the day it is for you guys, but it's in the very early hours of the morning for me right now. So thanks for connecting with me. I'm going to be talking about change, the neuroscience of change very quickly, and why people find it difficult to change. So just stay with me. Stay with me. All right. Thank you so much for joining me. Royal Diadem, thank you. Gucci, thank you. He's Royal, thank you for joining. Just stay with me, okay? We're going to be kicking off very soon. And for those of you on YouTube, on Facebook, let me know. Drop in 1 or 2 comments. Let me know where you're from. Let me know how your day has been. I am happy. It's 6 a.m. here in Sydney, and this is the mood I'm starting with. It's a happy mood. All right, thank you. Let me know how you're feeling. Let me know how your day is. All right, yeah, Oguleye says, yes, I from Nigeria. Thanks for joining. Thank you for connecting with me. We're going to be having, it's just going to be like half an hour, a conversation, a 30-minute conversation. So I need your attention for 30 minutes. Just for 30 minutes, I need your attention. I'll be talking about change, and you're going to learn a lot of, amazing things. So are you happy? If you're happy, just keep rocking with me this morning. All right? All right. Oh, Chavwe from the UK, thanks for connecting. Damilola from Ondo State, thank you. I see you. Godwin from Nigeria, I see you. Yeah, thank you so much for connecting, okay? If you're happy, yes, stay with me. Nos Angie from Istanbul, wow. My day was awesome. Thank you for that. All right, Royal Diadem from Canada, thanks for connecting. Thank you for joining. Yes, it's going to be a special time. Just share this link with your friends. Just, invite others. Let them join right now. I'm only going to be on for 30 minutes, and I'm going to be talking about change. Why people struggle to change. Why it's difficult for people to change. Why it's hard to sustain change. All right, we're going to be having that conversation right now. Are you there? Are you happy? Let me know where you're from, and let me know what your mood is right now. Are you feeling it? How has your day been? How's life been for you? All right. And no matter what the challenge is, no matter what the situation is, you're here. And I want you to just, have a different mental attitude right now, because something special is going to happen to you right now. You're going to experience something different. Yes. Are you happy? Like I am. Good. So for those who are from joining on Facebook, Instagram, wherever you're joining, I appreciate you. All right. Thank you so much. Wow. Fantastic. Thanks for connecting with me today. I will try as much as possible to, capture everyone, those on Instagram, Facebook, and those watching on YouTube. Thanks for connecting with me today. I'm Niyi Borire. I'm a neuro leadership expert, a neurologist, and a neuroscientist. And today I'll be talking about the neuroscience of change. I'll be looking at the different cameras. I've got multiple devices here. So I will try as much as possible to simplify what I'll be sharing with you guys, so that hopefully you can get value out of this. And if you're watching this video as a recording, or maybe on my IG timeline or wherever it is, I just want you to know that, yes, you are appreciated. Amazing. So I'm talking about the neuroscience of change. Absolutely, the neuroscience of change. Now, change is inevitable. Change is absolutely inevitable. Change cannot be stopped. Change is a force that cannot be stopped. Chineye, thank you. Yes, I see you. Chineye, I see you. Change is a force that cannot be stopped. Change is a force that cannot be curtailed. Change happens. All right. Change is just a natural phenomenon that happens. All right. And so that's the first thing I want to just sort of establish. All right. So your in a constant state of change, and your mind, your brain is in a constant state of change. Now, change can sometimes happen to us when we do not expect it. All right. Change comes along and in the form of disruption. All right. Everything gets disrupted and it just changes everything. It changes the whole dynamic. You see, I'm using the word change again. Yesterday, we had an election in Australia and our prime minister was voted out of office in one of the biggest, shifts, in the political landscape in Australia. All right. This man won, 3 years ago, and now 3 years down the line, people voted him out, despite the fact that we had a very, very successful model with COVID-19. But somehow things had changed. There was a massive disruption. And he was voted out not from another party because the party that won, the Labour Party, did not actually increase their voter share. In fact, their voter share dropped. So not many more people were voting for the other parties. But it was the independents, the smaller parties, the disruptors, the people that were not aligned to parties that came into the system and took away the votes of the ruling party, and that caused a massive disruption. But he did not read the room, and now he's out of office. Now he's lost his job because of this disruption that has happened. So sometimes change comes into our lives when we're not prepared for it. It comes like a massive disruption that changes everything, or that makes us, especially when we're not prepared for it. And the challenge that we have is that a lot of people struggle. A lot of people struggle to adapt. A lot of people struggle to be able to adapt to change, to react in a very prompt manner and in a way that will help them keep their purpose and their eye on the goal. And I remember that when I started this journey of reaching out to people and helping people, one of the things that was very clear to me, was that my goal, my vision, my purpose was to help people navigate change without losing their own purpose, their individuality, or their identity. Because what often happens is that when change occurs to you, especially when you're not prepared for it, it might make you compromise your values. You might have to, deviate away from your purpose. And if you were listening, if you had the opportunity of watching me about yesterday, on Fela Droto's IG Live, I was sharing there about distractions and detours. Many people experience change that is unprepared for, unplanned for. And when change occurs to you in a way that, you're not expecting, there is a tendency for you to walk away from your original plan. There's a tendency for you to walk away from your purpose. There's a tendency for you to lose your individuality or your identity, what makes you special, what makes you unique, what makes you different. And so the challenge then is, how can I navigate change without losing my substance? How can I go through change without actually losing my identity, without not stop being myself, without not, without change into someone else, or taking on someone else's style? How can I still remain, you know, on my own path? How can I stay aligned to my course when disruption occurs? That's a big challenge. And that's something a lot of people struggle with. Now, the other aspect of this, of change, is that we can create change. And a lot of us, and I see this quite a lot, that a lot of people are just reactive when it comes to change. A lot of people just want to react to change. They're not prepared for change. So when change comes on in the form of disruption in any other way, they struggle. They struggle to adapt and they crumble. But there's another level here, and that level is, operating from a place of change creation, you being able to create your own change. And that's another struggle for a lot of people. So, on one hand, some people struggle to adapt to change when it occurs, when they go through disruption. On the other hand, there are people who want to create change, but they struggle to create change. And I'm going to be speaking to this second cohort of people, particularly for those of you who are trying to create change in your life, in your family, in your lifestyle, maybe with your health, whatever it is. You're trying to start something new. You're trying to create change, but you struggle to sustain it. Sometimes you start it, but you can't complete it. You start it, you can't complete it. You start it, you can't complete it. It's not a lack of clarity. You've got clarity. It's not a lack of understanding your purpose. You know that. It's not a lack of resources. You've got resources. It's not a lack of a sense of direction. You have that, but you started, and you just feel that you can't sustain change. That is what I am about, and that's what I'll be sharing, quickly All right. So I'll be talking about change from a neuroscientific point of view, why it's difficult for people to change. And I'm going to be personalizing this to yourself. Why do you struggle to create new habits, particularly in the area of your personal performance? All right. A lot of us struggle. We know exactly what to do. Most of you who are on this call right now, if we're going to run through a self-coaching or sorry, a coaching program, you'll be able to coach yourself and actually identify the areas of your life that need improvement. All right. But it's not enough to be able to identify the areas of your life that needed improvement if you cannot execute. And even when you get paid coaches or you get mentors or counselors or trainers or facilitators or you attend programs, you still struggle to execute them. How many conferences have you attended this year? How many online programs have you attended this year? All right. No conference, no online program would be able to exert the transformative influence that you require if you do not understand the basis of change. If you do not understand how the brain works when it comes to change, no amount of therapy, no amount of conferences, no amount of virtual events, no amount of books that you read would create the required change. The change has to start with you, and it starts from your attendance here. You're here listening to me right now because you want to change your life. You're here because you want to move from where you are to where there. All right, you want to move from here to there. That's change, isn't it? But that journey from moving from here to there, all right, is sometimes very hard for a lot of people, particularly in terms of your personal performance. So I'm not going to be talking about organizational change. I'm not going to be talking about relationships, changing all the other areas of life. I'll be focusing on your own self, looking at yourself. And I'm not sure exactly what habits you have that you want to change. All right. Habits are very hard to change. Habits are very hard to change because habits have three dimensions to them. Every habit that you have, I don't know what your habit is, but somebody just tell me what one habit. Give me an example. I just want some engagement. Whether you're watching on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, wherever, can you just type in the chat? Just tell me one habit. It doesn't have to be a good habit or a bad habit. We'll just use that as an example. I just want to use that to illustrate, the different dimensions to habits. Okay, can someone just put there? Just let me know. Just tell me one habit, all right, that you have. It may be good, it may be bad, it doesn't matter. Just put it out there, and I will just use that. Oh, somebody said overthinking. Overthinking. Interesting. Ogulaya says overthinking. I'm not sure what you really mean by overthinking. Okay. Spark says anger. All right, but let's start with overthinking. Okay, maybe overanalyzing is what you mean. All right, you overanalyze things. When something happens, you just go on and on and on, and you can't stop yourself. Someone said staying glued to my PC. Interesting. All right, so let's take the overthinking habit. Okay, you have a habit of overthinking. Oh, someone on YouTube says procrastination. I really like that procrastination as a habit. All right. Another person says, every says inconsistency, wearing says disrespect, joking. All right. Let me go back to overthinking. Now, imagine that. Now I was talking about the three dimensions, okay, of habits. Okay. So every habit has an emotional component to it. Every habit has a thinking component to it. And every habit has a behavioral component to it. And I'm going to break that down so you understand what I'm referring to. So let's take the habit of overthinking. There's usually an emotional component to every habit that you have. So when you overthink, all right, and you overanalyze things, if you go to the foundation of that habit, all right, there is an emotional connection. There's an emotional undertone to that. And when I mean emotion, what am I talking about? Emotions are natural biological processes, programs that occur in our minds in reaction to certain situations. So when you encounter a situation, at the subconscious level, you generate an emotion. And I was teaching earlier some hours ago that every individual generates about 150 emotions every day. Every hour, sorry. Every hour you generate about 150 emotions, but those emotions are not cognitively conscious. So those emotions do not come to your consciousness. You're not aware of the majority of the emotions. In fact, it takes about 8 milliseconds from the generation of the emotion for you for from the time the emotion is generated to the time that you're fully conscious of the emotion. So the majority of the emotions you experience, you're not even conscious of them. They don't come to your consciousness. You're not even aware of those emotions the majority of the time, but they are there, and they create they create they are like the background music. They create the atmosphere. They sort of dictate the tune of your behavior, the way you react to people, the way you do things. So underlying these emotions this habit of overthinking is this there's an emotional component to that. And often the emotions are generated in responses to triggers, in responses to cues. Okay, so because emotions are also habits, so you can have, what we call the emotional habits, where every time you get a trigger, there's an emotional response. Okay, so that's the underlying cue, the underlying principle of a habit. So a habit is basically a response to, a trigger, a cue. And so something has to be triggering this overthinking that, I can't remember who gave us that example of overthinking. Something has to be triggering it. Okay, maybe it is when you have to make a decision. Maybe you are at the shop and you've got two items to buy. So every time you encounter, a T junction, whether you turn you have to decide, do I turn left or do I turn right? Every time you're given a choice to make, that may be the trigger for you. Whoever said it, overthinking, I can't remember your name now. All right, but every time you're confronted with the choice of, deciding to make a choice, do I turn left or do I turn right? You that situation generates an emotion within you. All right, and that emotion, okay, I don't know how we can characterize the emotion. It could be fear. The underlying emotion may be fear. It may be some form of anxiety. It may be curiosity, whatever it is, but it looks like it's unpleasant. So that emotion there, you may not even be able to describe it as fear, because maybe you're not afraid, you're not shaking, you're not like, your life is not in, threatened, but that emotion is there. All right, and that emotion creates the foundation for the overthinking. Now, that doesn't stop there. So that habit of overthinking doesn't stop there. And someone give another example of a habit. Let's take another example of a habit. Someone says here on YouTube, procrastination. All right, procrastination. So you have a task, you get a reminder that you need to do something. Oh, I need to submit this paper. I need to write this paper. That is the trigger. That is the cue. The natural response for you should be that, yeah, I will do it. But underlying your habit of procrastination is an emotional undertone that when you get a task, when you get a reminder to do a task, that emotional response is generated in you. And it's an emotional response of frustration and tiredness and fear. And it's all negative emotions, especially when it's procrastination. And you may not be able to characterize it that way. And in fact, you may not get any what we call physiological responses. Your heart may not be beating fast and all that. But underlying that is not a pleasant feeling, a pleasant experience within you. And you may not even, as I said, you may not be fully conscious of it, but that there's that emotional component to procrastination. All right. And that creates a foundation for the next aspect of your habit, which is the thinking part of the habit, the thinking component. I told you every habit has an emotional component, a thinking or thought component, and then there's now the behavior, which is what you see. So people see you procrastinate, but they don't understand that there's an emotional undertone and a thought pattern undertone to your procrastination. People see you overthink and overanalyze things. They don't understand that there's an emotional component to that. All right. And if you're going to fix the habit, you've got to fix the emotional component. All right. And you've got to fix the thinking or the thought patterns that follow that habit. Am I communicating with you guys? Am I communicating with you guys? I hope you're getting something out of this. So if you we go back to the person who's been procrastinating, all right, you get the trigger. The trigger is do something, and then your response, there's an emotional response which you can control. All right. And those emotions are there. They're usually brief, but maybe in your own situation, those emotions translate into feelings which are much longer. And then you're feeling down, you're feeling discouraged, you feel, oh, it's difficult to do, oh, this is so hard. You feel afraid, you feel that, oh, this is going to take all my time. You feel, oh gosh, I can't just do it now. You feel tired. All of those feelings are there. And you may not express those feelings. So you're not just procrastinating because you're lazy. You're not just procrastinating because you're not committed to the cause. You're not just procrastinating because you don't care. You probably care enough for you to be able to identify that yes, you've got a problem with procrastination, but the issue is that there's some emotional undertones that you need to be aware of. And then on top of that is the thinking pattern. You start to now reflect. So what happens is that you start thinking about the emotions you're feeling. So it starts with the feeling. Every habit starts with feeling and then thinking and then behaving. Feeling, thinking, behaving. All right. Or doing. So we say feeling, thinking, and doing. So before you do the habit, there's a feeling, then there's a thinking, and then you do. All right. So once the feeling comes, you start to think about it. And if you go look at the thinking patterns of somebody who is procrastinating, all right, that's where the issue is, isn't it? You may not be able to control the feeling. The feelings will come, all right, because those feelings are already sort of hardwired there, and you can't change those feelings. Every time you get, a trigger, you generate those emotions, and you're like, oh yeah. Now, what do you do with your thinking? Oh yeah, I don't think I can do this. Oh no, 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 no! It's just going to take too much from me. Oh gosh. So you've got those negative thinking patterns. And of course, those negative thinking patterns will reinforce the emotional undertone. Remember that the emotional undertone that has been generated is already priming you to commit the habit or perform the habit or do what you probably would not like to do, which is procrastinate. All right. So you're already primed at the emotional level. You're already primed. You're ready. It's like when you're at the red light and you're revving your car. Even though your legs are on the brake, your leg is on the brake or the handbrake is deployed, but you're already primed for action. You're revving the engine. Zum, 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 zum. So even though your car is not moving, your engine is revving. That's what your emotions, that's what the feeling does to you. All right. So once the trigger comes, your engine is revved for action. You know you're going to commit the habit. You're going to do the habit. Maybe it's something that you're even ashamed of, something like maybe masturbation, pornography, and some of those things that, oh yeah, but they're habits. All right. So every time you get the trigger at the emotional level, at the feeling level, even though you've not committed it, you're already aroused. Okay. And your engine is already revving. And then what next? You start thinking about it. All right. And then that's where the issue comes in. Your thought patterns can reinforce the feeling. All right. The thought patterns can reinforce the feeling. Oh, I'm feeling this way. Oh, I don't think I can do this if it's procrastination. Or, oh gosh, I'm confused. So if your thought patterns is about your confusion, oh, I'm confused, I'm confused, I'm confused, I can't do it, I'm confused. For the person who is overanalyzing, the first person gave us the example of overanalyzing. If you're the person that overanalyzes, oh gosh, I'm confused. I'm confused. How am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? And you're repeating that over and over and over again. Of course, you'll be more and more confused. And those thought patterns will make the feelings of fear, the feelings of anxiety, all of those negative feelings, or will make them much more prominent. And of course, what happens at the end of the day, you just feel frustrated, you drop the work. Or if you're trying to make a decision, you just kind of make a decision. You may have to call your husband or call your wife or call someone else or call your pastor. Please, I'm in a hole. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to buy. I don't know what course to take or what business to start. I'm just in a fix. All right. And maybe you knew the answer. Maybe if you had learned how to control your feelings and control your thinking, maybe you'll be able to see clearly and make the choice. Maybe the choice is even there. How many times for the person who overanalyzes, how many times, ask yourself, have you gone to ask someone else? And the person's like, what are you talking about? A or B? You know it's A. What are you thinking about? And you're like, oh my God. Yes, it was A. Yes, the correct choice was A all along. But because you were faced with that choice, and because, you know, some of those neural circuits, those neuronal connections in your brain had been formed to generate these emotional responses. Every time that trigger comes, the first feeling you get is a feeling of exasperation, a feeling of frustration, a feeling of anger, a feeling that or that you're overwhelmed. And of course, you think about it more. And as you think about it, you repeat it, you revel on it, you meddle on it. You just get more and more and more overwhelmed. And of course, what do? You don't make a decision. Or if it's procrastination, same thing. You feel overwhelmed. You just, I can't do this now. I can't write this paper now. I can't do this work now. You just let it go. You just push it away, let it go, and you move on. And that's how habits occur. See how difficult. I've just broken down to you, what habits are and how difficult it would be. All right, for people to break habits, because people think that the habits is in your doing. No, your habits is not in your doing. Your habits is in your feeling, your thinking, and then your doing. Everything that you do repetitively, okay, has an emotional component to it, a thinking component to it, and then a behavioral component to it. Every behavior that you have, every behavior, the way you speak, the way you do your things, everything that you do that is repetitive and that is habitual has those three components to it. So when people say old habits die hard, there's a reason why that's the case. And that's because all of these three different components of habits are hardwired in your brain. And there's a certain law in neuroscience, the Erb's law, which says that old neuronal circuits are not deconstructed. What that means is that I'll give this example. Let me give an example. So somebody, can you just tell me? how will I say this? Something you want to change. Somebody just give me an example. Yeah, anywhere, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Just give me an example. A habit you want to change. Let it not be embarrassing. Okay, let it be something also fun. Like I want to. I don't want to eat chocolate anymore, stuff like that. But I want it. I want to get suggestion from someone. All right, guys, just give me one habit you would like to change. One habit you would like to change, and we're gonna just use that as an example. Yeah, thanks for everyone joining. All right, someone said drinking Coke. I assume this is Coke. Belisami, drinking Coke. All right. So Belisami on Instagram has a habit of drinking Coke. All right. Drinking Coke. Let's take that. Okay. All right. Now, Belisami, I'm not sure whether it's a man or woman, but Belisami is maybe not happy about drinking too much Coke. Let's say too much Coke. All right. So maybe he or she has been watching, documentaries or maybe they've been to their doctor and the doctor has said, well, listen, you've got to cut down your sugar content, your cholesterol is probably on the high side. Your blood pressure is going up. You got to stay healthy. But Belsami likes Coke. Belsami, are you a man or woman? Let me know so I don't use the wrong pronouns. All right. So Belsami likes Coke, drinking Coke. Now, let me just use this as an example. All right. Within your brain, there are neuronal circuits. Okay. So just imagine that this is a junction, the junction between two nerves. Okay. Belsami is a woman. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Belsami. Okay. So let's assume that these are two nerve cells. Okay, the brain is composed of nerve cells. Nerves are like wires. Nerves are like wires. Okay, you have the nucleus, all right, of the cell body of the nerve, and then you have the axon or the tail of the nerve. So you've got two nerves here at a junction called the synapse or the synapse. All right. So at this junction, they communicate. All right. So there's a communication here between these two. I will call this synapse or this junction the Coke synapse. So because Belsami drinks a lot of Coke and she wants to change that habit. So this is the neuronal network or the neural network or the neural circuit in Belsami's brain that makes her drink Coke. Okay. So every time this neuronal circuit is triggered, the outcome is that there's a desire for Coke. In order for this to happen, usually there's a trigger. There's usually a trigger. I don't know what it is for Belsami, but maybe every time she's tired. Maybe it's a movie at night. Maybe 9 o'clock, she watch a late night movie. The next trigger is Coke. Just like for some people, it's popcorn. You put on a movie, you just crave popcorn. All right. Maybe she's just tired. Oh, I just want Coke. All right. Or whatever it is, or it could be thirst. All right. The next thing is Coke, and you're so used to Coke, your palate is become so used to Coke. That's what you crave. You don't crave water, you don't crave juice, you don't crave Fanta, you don't crave anything else. It's just, oh, I just want a bottle of Coca-Cola right now, chilled, cold Coke. So every time that trigger occurs, all right, the response is a desire for that. It starts with the feeling, and then the thinking, and then the doing. So every habit, you get the feeling first. Oh, the feeling, the desire, and it starts at the very subconscious level, even before you act on it. All right. Once that trigger is activated, the feeling starts. And once the feeling is there, initially I said emotions are subconscious, you don't feel them. But once they get to the brain, and they do that very quickly, they get to the cortex. They get to the cortex, you're conscious of that emotion. Oh, you start to feel, oh, yeah, it's time. I want some Coke. I want some Coke. And of course, you start thinking about it. How do I get Coke? Oh, yes, yes. You start to think about the satisfaction you'll get from it. And before you know it, you stand up, even though in the morning, when you wake up in the morning, you'll be like, I'm not having Coke today. Today, I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to drink water all day, 2 liters of water. But you won't even remember all that confession and affirmation in the morning until you're gulping down the Coke. And you're like, oh, yeah, well, tomorrow is another day. Now, let me put this to you. The feeling part of the brain called the limbic system, all right, is where your emotions are generated. The thinking part of the brain called the prefrontal cortex, all right, is where is that part of the brain that also controls your inhibition. So every time you feel like doing something, your thinking part of the brain will analyze it. Your thinking part of the brain or the prefrontal cortex will analyze that feeling to see whether it is appropriate. I gave an example recently that imagine you're driving your car and somebody hits your car. You step out of the car and you're like, I'm going to deal with you today. Why did you hit my car? Why did you do this? Or why are you driving rough? Why did you do this? And some of you would have seen this in some comedy skits. You get out of the car and you find a giant. You find somebody who's like 6'9" with muscles, all the pecs and, and all that. Very quickly, you will not be taught before all your anger dissipates. You'll just quickly mellow down a little bit and be like, yeah, because you know that person can deal with you. You're not going to be screaming. That's your thinking brain. That's your prefrontal cortex telling you that even though you're feeling angry, simmer, just calm down. That's why your boss will annoy you, but you are able to suck it in and you don't overreact. You don't talk, even though inside you are boiling, and the way you're feeling is like, if I can deal with this man right now. But you suck it up because you know that it pays your salary, because you know that, oh yeah, I just need to graduate. If you're a student, you just suck it up and you just don't do anything about it. But of course, if that person who was giving you that hard time was somebody less than, junior to you, or somebody less in rank to you, or somebody who is lower than you in terms of the social status, you will let them know. If the person was working for you, you will let them know, wouldn't you? You will tongue lash them and you will speak and you will express your anger and you will do all of that. Why are you able to vary your behavior when you have the same feelings and the same trigger, the same feeling of anger because somebody smashed your car, but you behave differently depending on whether the person can, deal with you or the person, cannot. All right. That's the thinking part of the brain. So, what happened between the time you got angry because someone hit your car and you stepped out of your car is that while you're taking that action of stepping out of the car, your PFC, your prefrontal cortex, is thinking and analyzing the situation. And immediately you see somebody who can beat you up, you just quickly simmer and you're like, oh, sorry. I just, you smile and you try to make up. Let's, okay, we'll fix it. We'll fix it. Do you have insurance? You talk very nicely. But if it's somebody who you can deal with, do you know who I am? I will show you today. You start raising your voice up, all right, because of the prefrontal cortex. Now, that's your thinking. So, pretty much, I'm just using these examples to illustrate the point to you that every habit that you have has an emotional undertone to it, has, a thinking pattern that underlies it, and also has the actual action. The actual action. Now, before I go on into how you can actually sustain change, I just want to let you guys know, some of you are joining me right now, and on any platform. I want you to know that I will be talking more about this in a program that is coming up on Wednesday, next week, Wednesday. For those of you in Australia, we started a new week. For those who are further west, it's probably the next week starts for you tomorrow. So on the 26th of May, if you go to my website, niyiborire.com, you'll be able to get more information. It's called the Neuroscience of Personal Performance. The Neuroscience of Personal Performance. All right. We're going to be talking a lot about some of these things, how you can be your best self, how you can increase your efficiency, your effectiveness in whatever you do from a neuroscience point of view. We're going to be talking about this thing. So I want to encourage you. All right. You can, if you're on Instagram, you can click on my link, or if you go to my website, neighbor.com, you'll be able to register. I'll be joined by Kristen Hansen. Kristen Hansen is one of Australia's top neuro leadership experts. Okay. She has massive clients, Google, IBM, even the Prime Minister's office, the one that just got voted out in Australia, is a client of hers. All right. So she's an amazing woman, and we're going to be collaborating together on a lot of things. So she's going to be there with me, and we're going to be talking about how you can improve your personal performance. So Kristen Hansen has coached over 1,000 senior executives in Google, IBM, all the four big banks in Australia, as well as all the top universities. She's also my coach as well. So she's an amazing woman. So we're going to be there together. I want to encourage you, send a link to your friends, get everyone. If you know somebody, whether you're a market woman, whether you are a student, whether you're a professional, whether you're an executive, whether you work in NGOs, as long as you want to improve your personal performance, we're going to talk to you about how your brain works and how you can determine what type. For example, people do not know that sometimes, the efficiency and the productivity of your brain depends on the time of the day. For some people, they have a morning brain, some people have an afternoon brain, some people have an evening brain. But some of you don't even know the kind of brain you have. All right. And that's why every time you go to work, you struggle at work because you've got an evening brain, but you will do it in 8 to 5. All right. And every time at work, you're never happy, you're never satisfied, you're never as productive as you should be. Maybe it's time to actually look into some of these things. So please get registered. Niyiborire.com. Go there or click on the link in my bio if you're on Instagram and register for this event. It's valued at $500, but we're giving you a discount which will expire very soon of 49 US dollars. So register for this event. It's not a free event. Nothing is free. All right. So it's not a free event. For register, send a link. If you know somebody who needs this, let them come and have a conversation with us, and I'll be talking a lot more about some of the things we're talking about right now. For those of you who are at work, or for those of you who cannot attend and you still want to be part of a register, you get a recording. Okay, so even if you're not able to attend physically, you can register and you'll still get the recording. So back to what I was talking about. Habits have three dimensions to them. You've got the emotional component of every habit, you've got the thinking component to every habit, and then you've got the behavior. A lot of us focus on the behavior, we focus on the doing, not realizing that you cannot just switch off a habit if you don't deal with the feeling and the thinking. You can't just switch off a habit if you don't deal with the thinking and the feeling and the thinking. And remember that the feeling and the thinking that underlies the doing are already hardwired with circuits. So there are already circuits in your brain that switch on, that are activated every time you get the trigger. So Belsami was talking about drinking Coke. Belsami has a habit of drinking Coke. All right. Every time she gets a trigger, and Belsami, maybe you just tell us what your trigger is. All right. If you're on Instagram, Belsami is on Instagram. Maybe you tell us what the trigger is for you. So maybe we can actually just put that into context. But Belsami drinks too much Coke. She wants to change that habit. All right. And she's given us that example. All right. Now let's assume that she drinks Coke when she's tired. The trigger comes tiredness, or the trigger comes thirst. All right. And that creates a reaction. And the response is a feeling. It starts with a feeling of wanting to drink Coke. That feeling is accompanied by thinking. Okay. Thinking. So that is accompanied by thinking about it, reflecting. Oh, Belsami says chili food or hot weather. Okay, all right. Hot. In fact, that's easy, Belsami. Belsami's trigger for drinking Coke is chili food or hot weather. All right. So let's talk about chili food. Maybe you stop eating chili food. All right, or food that has a lot of chili. All right. Maybe you cut down your chili content, but no. Let's be more serious now. So whenever you have that trigger, the feeling starts. And when that feeling starts, as you reflect on the feeling and you start brooding and thinking about the feeling, you end up doing. So the reality there is that it is quite difficult for people to change their habits because of this reason. That's one of the foundational reasons why it's really hard to change your habit. And because when people say old habits die hard, as I said earlier on, it's because existing wiring in your brain, anything that is hardwired in your brain, does not deconstruct. So, how do you deal with this? It's by forming new connections. So, if I'm going to deal with this Coke circuit, which I call it the Coke circuit, all right, chilly or hot weather, drinking Coke. If I'm going to deal with this, I can't break it down. I need to form a new circuit that will be connected to what chili, so that when I eat a food, when Belsami eats a food that has chili, or when she's in hot conditions, I need to form a new network with that. And maybe it would be drinking water. Drinking water. So that neuronal circuit that underpins the habit of drinking Coke is not going to get destroyed. And in fact, the emotional feelings will still be there. The emotional cravings will still be there. Those cravings won't go because they're hardwired. But of course, when you don't use something over a period of time, you lose it. So if there are neurons in your brain that you are not activating over a period of time, they stop firing. And so it's going to take, they don't go away, but they stop firing. That's why you see drug addicts who initially, when they're going through detox, they have a lot of craving, and that's why they have to go into some form of detox center. But if you give a drug addict a drug 20 years after they've been clean, all right, the same emotional responses will be generated. That's why it's easy for drug addicts. Once they are addicted, they can always relapse at any time, even when they're exposed, because those existing neurons, existing wiring does not break down. So the wiring of your brain that encodes your emotional responses to your habits and do not break down. They don't go away. Even with prayer and fasting, they don't dissolve. Do you understand what I'm saying? They don't dissolve. Now I believe in miracles. Okay, today this is not a faith seminar. I'm not talking about praying and oh yeah, your desire for coke go away and all that. No, well that you can get that in a different forum. In fact, I'm a pastor as well, so you can come to my church this morning. We'll pray for you Sunday morning for that. All right, but I'm talking about science here and how we can use our knowledge of science to better our lives and change our habits. So please get that straight that those existing wirings do not necessarily go away, but your goal now will be to form new habits. Now, because of time, it's Sunday morning here for me. I'm just going to wrap up I'll be wrapping up very soon. Okay. You see, I've not had enough time to go into how you can actually practically change. Okay. How you can practically change, how you can practically walk through the journey of correcting your thinking. But I've actually opened your eyes to see the foundation of your habits and where the problem is. You may not be able to stop the feeling, but we've got to deal with your thinking because your thinking is the gap. Your thinking is the bridge from your feeling to your doing. So the area of intervention will be in your thinking patterns, particularly. And by working on your thinking patterns, we will be able to then, modulate your feeling over a period of time. And we do that by forming new networks over a period of time. That's what we're going to have to do. And that takes time. That takes time. That takes you identifying your goal. That takes you, focusing your attention on that habit. And that takes sometimes even coaching and support and mentoring and somebody holding you accountable. All right. It takes a lot of work, but you can do it. You can do it. You can go through that change that you require. But once you understand the basis, okay, of this, you have to start with why do I feel the way I feel? Why am I thinking the way I think? What are my thought patterns? Why do I think about this? You got to reflect, interrogate yourself. And sometimes you may need somebody to hold your hand and walk through that journey with you. But that's something that you must commit yourself to. And then as you do that, you will find that you will be able to form new habits. For some of you, you want to start new habits. Can someone just tell me, I'm going to finish on this. Just tell me one habit, one new habit you want to start, one new good positive habit you want to start. I'm going to end on this note because I've got to go very soon. So just tell me very quickly. We've had habits we want to stop. Can somebody just share with me any of the platforms? One habit you want to start, a new habit. It could be a skill you want to learn, something you want to do, a new habit you're not used to. Come on, guys. Yeah, somebody said reading. Okay. Um, Energico Speak says reading. You want to read. You want to start a habit of reading. All right. Now, let me tell you, every new habit that you start goes through what we call a change curve. There's a change curve, and the change curve goes in a very interesting way. Initially, when you identify what you want to do, the first thing that will cause is a period of excitement and anticipation. So there's a period of excitement and anticipation. At that time, your expectations are high. You're geared up. So maybe you go to a master class on reading, or maybe you hear a speaker talk about reading. You're so pumped up. You're so excited about it. You feel so excited, and in fact, you may just find yourself on Amazon buying books. You may buy 5, 10 books, like a lot of people do. Or maybe you watch the seminar about your mentor talking about the books they've read, and you just go on online on the spending spree. You buy 5, 10 books, you're excited. The first day, you take the first book, you open chapter one, you open chapter two, you open chapter three. Okay. So you go through that period of expectation. But of course, with time, what starts to happen is that a lot of other competing things come there. All right, because of your approach in forming this new habit, you've not taken time to look at the feeling, the thinking before the doing. You're just going to the doing. You've not really taken time to say, okay, why do I want to this? Why do I want to be a reader? What is my goal? Am I reading because I want to get this or that? For example, for me, let me give an example of me when it comes to reading. A lot of the times I don't finish a book. I am not a fan of, oh, I've read 10 books this year. Like, for what? The question I have, I've got so much on my plate. Why must I read? Like, I've got a lot of books in my diary. If you go to my back there, you see a lot of books. I've got books. But why? I read based on my theme. I read based on my season. There are a lot of books that I hear that I've only read a chapter because that's what really speaks to me at that time. So that's it for me. I understand my why. When I understand my why, because that why is what sets the tone for your feeling and then your thinking. But for some people, the reading is like, oh, because this person reads 10 books, I have to be a reader. I have to be a reader. I have to read the Bible. I have to finish the Bible. Like for those some people, I say, I have to finish the Bible 1 year. Yes, it's good to read the Bible and finish the Bible. But what is the reason? So you can come out and say, yes, I've read the Bible 30 times. What is your reason? I would prefer to get stuck on one verse of the scripture for 1 month, full of revelation and growth, than to cram the whole Bible or read the whole Bible in a year. And I can't remember half of it, or most of it does not even speak to me. Am I communicating with somebody here? I hope you're getting value here. So, for the person who's saying reading, the every time you want to start a new habit, you're motivated. There's a excitement, there's an anticipation, but that anticipation quickly is replaced by anxiety, frustration, and despair because it just starts to go away. Because the initial arousal stress, we call it the arousal stress, arousal. Wow, when somebody gives you a new information, you arouse. You're like, wow, I've not heard that before. I'm going to sign up. Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to buy the book. I'm going to read. But that's not sustainable. That's not sustainable. Once those initial feelings sort of dissipate, because those feelings, the foundation of those feelings are not deep enough. The foundation of the feelings is based on the what, not the why. And that's what I'll be talking more about. If you want to change and form a new habit, you've got to start with the why. If you read Simon Sinek's book, start with the why. A lot of people start with the what I want to do. They don't start with the why. Because when you start with the why and you get exactly why do you want to learn this new musical instrument? Why do you want to start another course? Why do you want to start the business? Why? What is your why? Why? It's not the what. Yes, it may be fashionable and yet it may be fancy, but you got to start with the why. Now, I was talking about the change curve. I'm going to finish on this. Okay, I can't really explore all of this, but the change curve is that there's a period of excitement and anticipation that is quickly replaced by anxiety and resistance to change. You just have to go back to your ways. You see your books and you feel bad about yourself. You just feel, oh yeah, I spent $100 on books and I'm not reading. And then you don't want to buy any more books. And if you now see a book that would change your life, you'll be like, no, no, I've got like 10 books in my, they're just decorations. I don't open them anymore. Like you just feel despair and all that. That's a natural phase. All right. But of course, if you put the right strategies in place, all right, if you put the right strategies in place, then you can actually build that excitement again. All right. And what will help sustain that will be your why, a period of accountability, some creativity, all right, in doing that, and how you can sort of make some lifestyle choices that would help sustain that behavior. I've just tried to squeeze in a whole 2 hour model just talking about the change curve. The neuroscience of change is like a half day session, all right, that I'm just trying to squeeze in, so I can't go into all of those details. I have to bring this to a close now because I've got church in about I've got to be in church in less than 2 hours, so I've got to go now. But it's been a pleasure connecting with you guys. So if you want more of this content that I'm be talking about, please sign up for my masterclass. We've got almost 50 people signed up already. Amazing. Our plan was just to have 20 people in class. We just wanted to have 20 people in class. We've got almost 50 people. So I think we're going to close the registration very soon. Okay. But you have the opportunity. If you want to be in the masterclass, I'll be joined by Kristen Hansen. I've pinned the comment, the link on Instagram, and you can see it on the screen if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. You go to niyiborire.com, sign up today. The neuroscience of personal performance. We're going to be talking about peak performance. How do you get to peak performance, and how can you sustain peak performance? And it's personalized for you. For you, you have to understand how your brain works and how you can operate at your peak state. All right, your best state as much as possible, so you can be productive. Okay, so that you can produce high performance habits. You can coach yourself to excellence. All right, and you can be the best version of yourself. So that's what this is all about. And I hope that you will sign up. As I said, I'll be joined by Kristen Hansen. She's a neuro leadership expert. She's also my coach and an amazing woman. And together we're going to be sharing with you all of these amazing um, strategies on how to, be the best personal performance. As I said, it's for everyone, whether you are a leader, whether you're a follower, whether you're a worker, whether you're a small business owner, or you work in not-for-profit organizations, whatever it is. I'll be looking forward to having you. So thanks for connecting with me. Thanks for spending some time with me. I'm going to play this song Happy because that's a mood I'm in. I'm happy, okay? I'm in a happy mood. It's a brand new week for us in Australia here. We're starting with a brand new prime minister. And let me tell you something about the prime minister. To be honest, I didn't vote for him, but he's got an amazing story. I woke up this morning to see he has won the election. And our prime minister was born to a single mom who was unemployed. She was on disability pension. He grew up in a housing commission, and today, after 26 years in parliament, he is becoming prime minister. A very amazing story. So, well, I'm happy for him, Tony Albanese. And for you, I wish you a wonderful week. I hope to see you on Wednesday, May 26th in class. Make sure you register. And if you know anyone, you can send them the link. Let them register. It's going to be an amazing time. All right.
Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room is out of roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along
See you in class.
if you feel
God bless you
like
guys.
happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like
That's what you want to do.